Everyone, please rise for the playing of the national anthem. Please remain standing with your hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance given by John Wayne.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rippin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic suit. We're tearing through the atmosphere. And we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Wednesday, November the 17th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we are continuing our State of Mystery series as we move from the last state of Massachusetts into the state of Michigan, still quite a northern state, and a state filled with paranormal. Some you've heard of, others I'm pretty sure you've not. And we're going to cover all that and more here in just a moment. But first, I've got to go over here and say hello to our 2 chat rooms, both on the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube channel as well as the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. What's going on over here in chat tonight, guys? How is everybody? It is great to see all of you, of course, as you know. I really appreciate every last one of you guys being here. I did miss a little bit. It refreshed on me when I pulled out the chat, but I believe Michael Fontaine was in the chat asking, why is it called Michigan? How did it get its name? Jojo says, doing the research, it's a Great Lakes state because its shores touch 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. Michigan gets its name from an Chippewa Indian word meaning large lake. So there you go. There is the answer to that question. Alva Yarder says, hello everyone. Hello Alva. Hello Errol Taylor. Glad to have you back in the house. Raider Champion. Dropping in the Wonderland link. I appreciate that, everyone. Terry Taggart dropping in saying hello. Hello, Terry. Hello, David Tate. Good to see you, too. I don't know why the channel does that weird ending thing that it does. Sometimes you just have to refresh. Everything looks good on my side, so I'm not sure what the issue is. You know, YouTube being YouTube, they do not like us getting the truth out there to you guys. Over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat room, let's see, I've lost my chat rooms, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. Too much going on, not enough time. I apologize. Over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat room, Sandy B says, "Hey, JoJo's and Jerry." Hey, Sandy B. Of course, JoJo's waving in also in the DarkWolf's Den. Michael Fontaine dropping in saying hello. Asking about the weather. I just asked the Rippin' Rabbit Hole about the weather over here. Terry Taggart says it's 39 degrees, a bit windy here. For those wondering, I asked in the chat before we got started. Going up into 40s says about I'll be enjoying 70s in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, says Raider Champion. Over in, once again, the DarkWolf's Den Show chat room, Sandy B says it was 62 and raining off and on, but temps dropping tonight. It was supposed to rain today, but we missed it, actually. It was not raining here, clear, and still been pretty darn warm. Michael Fontaine says his phone just stopped too. We're going to need Space Force soon. Maybe it is these crazy space weather anomalies we got going on. Man, Danny Mall dropping in says back again from hunting for groceries. Literally, freezers are full. Life is good. I love to see that. David Tate says weather 10 but 40 during the day. Where in the world are you at, David Tate, with weather of 10 with 40 during the day? That sounds where I was like over in Idaho, up in the top of a mountain. But I really am glad to see every last one of you guys. You guys ready to have some fun tonight? And whether you are listening over on the YouTube or over on the Rippin' Common Sense Radio, we appreciate having every last one of you guys along for the ride. And as you guys know, before we get into the paranormal state of mystery tonight, we have two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. Fake news strikes again, ladies and gentlemen. In 1992, on this day, Dateline NBC aired a demonstration show showing General Motors trucks blowing up on impact. It was later revealed that the entire test was rigged by NBC. Fake news at its very best, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a new concept, just something we're dealing with again and again and again. Another reason you should never trust mainstream media, and that is today's segment of Today in History. And you guys know what's really sad about that? Is it's not the first or the last time, as we know, that fake news has done what fake news does. Which brings us to our next segment, a segment which we call Say What? Our quote of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, comes from Denzel Washington. He says, and I quote, "If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed." What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility that the media has to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it. Sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at, including BS. End quote. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Denzel Washington on fake news when asked about it by a reporter. And that is today's segment of Say What? And as we know, fake news has become a real problem in this country. It's more propaganda than news anymore, but that's why you turn to the alternative medias like the DarkWolf's Den Show. And we're glad to have you here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we discuss the state of mystery of Michigan. That's right. And for those that don't know, I've actually spent some time in the state of Michigan. All of my dad's side of the family lives in Michigan. Shout out to all you guys. You know who you are. Perhaps some of them have seen some of these cryptid creatures that live in Michigan. We are going to be speaking first about a creature tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't normally hear a whole lot of. We've done shows about this cryptid before, but we haven't really run across it in the States until now. And back to tell us all about this cryptid is our friend, Mr. Ben Miller.
It's a merman.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a merman. We haven't had a lot of merfolk in our States series that I can remember anyway. But do you guys think merfolk are real? That mermaids could be a real thing? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think absolutely mermen and merfolk are absolutely a thing. Put a 2 in the chat room if you think no, that's all a hoax and there's no way, that's crazy. Go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure.
According to the stories, on May 3rd or 13th, depending on your source, of 1782, a Canadian fur trapper named Venant St. Germain and his crew were traveling to Thunder Bay by canoe, but stopped for the night on Pie Island. The next morning, Germain got up early to do some fishing from the shore. As he looked out on Lake Superior, he noticed something odd swimming in the water about 67 yards out. He saw a 3-foot-long childlike person with woolly hair, brown skin, and brilliant eyes gliding in the water. It was said to have a human torso and a fish tail. It had 6 fingers and a very rounded head. Germain called out for his fellow travelers, and many of them saw the being as well. Venant then ran for his rifle and pointed it at the creature. Before he could pull the trigger, an Ojibwa woman he had as a guide stopped him, saying that it would be bad luck to threaten the water gods. She stated that in him even aiming the gun would probably bring a terrible storm.
And again, we find that the Native Americans were very well aware of this creature. They considered it a water god nonetheless, but they were aware of the existence of these creatures. They didn't freak out like the French fur trapper did.
During this whole event, the being vanished underwater and never appeared again. At 11 o'clock that night, the warnings came true, and the company was hit with a storm that was so strong that left them immobilized for 3 days.
Could that have been a coincidence, or were the merfolk able to manipulate the environment as such that a storm rolled in? Perhaps it was a water god of some type.
While many people may question what they saw that day, Saint Germain believed it enough that he even signed an affidavit before the Court of King's Bench of Montreal, swearing to his encounter many years later.
So whatever he saw, he really believed that's what he saw. Whether it was a misidentification of a creature or if it really was a merman, as far as he was concerned, he had seen a merman.
Going a step farther, the Ojibwa tribe actually has stories and legends about a creature that looked very similar to what Germain saw, with the only difference being their version has dark hair all over its body, and it's called Memegwashi.
And once again, I must point out, I tend to take case files from the Native Americans a little more seriously. A lot of researchers call them myth, I call them history.
In those stories, the creatures don't have noses and make their homes in cascades. They hide amongst rock faces and prefer to stay in areas where they can escape quickly. While all this may seem made for the realm of fantasy, it is worth noting that many cultures have stories about beings very similar to this.
I agree, Ben. It is very much worth noting that the different cultures have a replica of this same creature in their, quote, mythology and lore, if that's what you want to call it. Or perhaps, like I've said many times on this show, when you have the same details coming out in a multitude of case files, perhaps there's really something more to it.
In the 1870s, 3 fishermen reported seeing a blonde mermaid with brown-colored skin in the waters around Point Grey, which is off the coast of Vancouver. In the waterway called Active Pass in British Columbia, another sighting of a merperson occurred in 1967. A ferry was traveling in the area full of passengers, and many claimed to see a blonde-haired mermaid eating a salmon while sitting on a rock. I should note that mermaid festivals are held each year in different locations around Michigan.
So if you're interested in mermaids, perhaps you can go ahead and check out the water festival. But let's see who is interested in mermaids. Let's see what you guys said over here in the chat room. Remember, 1, if you believe in mermaids. 2, if you think they're just a hoax. 3, if you're unsure. Let's see what you guys said over here. Pretty good mix, it looks like, over here in the chat rooms. Looks like the DarkWolf's Den Show chat room. We've got ones from JoJo's across the board. She definitely says mermaids are real. Mandani Mall says named Ethel. Perhaps it could be named anything you like. Ethel Merman, there you go. One but ugly lab-created things, says Mandani Mall. Yes, I do believe they're real, but I believe they're from a lab, he says. And then over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat, how you doing, rabbits? Terry Taggart on the fence with a 3, not quite sure, not gonna say no, but not gonna say yes either. Elva Yarder with the 1, Sandy B with the 1, I think. So she says, Dave Tate with the 3, joining Terry Taggart on the fence over there with the possibly, not quite sure, not gonna rule it out. Earth Daughter, glad to see you made it early enough to catch the first half of the show. Always a pleasure to have you. Sandy B says, if dolphins went from land to water, then why not people from land to water too, right? And I actually made that argument in one episode. There's biological possibility that it's very, very good likelihood that it could happen. You don't need air till you breathe air. Arrow Taylor hanging on the fence with a 3. Earth Daughter joining the fence crowd also with a 3, unsure. So pretty interesting mix between the 1s and 3s. Didn't really have any 2s at all. 1.1 from Raider Champion also coming in late there. And I gotta say, I am very much a 3 on this one. I'm not 100% sure either way. I see where the possibility is there, and there's a lot of case files to suggest it, so it's definitely a good possibility that I'm not ruling out the fact that there could be mermaids, right? But there's another couple creatures in Michigan, in the lakes of Michigan, of course. When you have that much water around a place, you expect nothing less.
There is the Lilanu lake monster, which is said to have a long stump-like neck, an extremely long tail, and abnormally large eyes. It makes its home in the freshwater lakes and swamps, and appeared after the dam was constructed to provide water for the lumber mill. Many believe in creating the dam, it trapped the creature from being able to leave the lake. It is said to extend its head above the water, appearing to be a log, and when someone draws too near, it opens its massive eye and shoots under the water.
What I find very intriguing about this creature is a number of things, actually. Number one, it didn't show up until after the dam was built, which, again, that makes logical sense that it got trapped in there. It had been there the whole time, it just hadn't been seen until it was pretty much trapped. And then you've got the way that it just lays in the water until disturbed, then it'll open the eye and it'll run away just the same. It's a lot like the natural responses of creatures that we find that we already know, like the alligator or the crocodile, things like that. Though they don't tend to run away, they tend to just lay in the water and lay very still, and a lot of times even have their eyes closed until something disturbs them. So again, it's just really interesting that you have these correlations to real creatures in the world. But Lake Superior is not the only one that has a lake monster in it.
Lake Erie has a lake serpent that I've talked about before briefly, named Bessie. This creature has been spotted since 1793 and is described as being a large silver or gray color and is more snake-like than a typical lake monster.
Perhaps it's another one of those giant eels, right?
As usual, I want to talk about a more lesser-known creature, which is called Mishibizu, or Great Lynx, to the Ojibwa tribe. This being is believed to be one of the most powerful water-dwelling creatures in Native American lore. As of such, it is said to be able to control all aquatic life, including snakes.
Sounds like a real-life version of Aquaman, the ability to control all the different sea life.
It is described as having the head of a cat, which is adorned with long horns, sometimes made of copper. Its feet are like the paws of a cat, its skin is covered in scales, and it has razor-sharp spines running down its back. This creature is said to be a protector of its area, and many state it guards copper deposits as well. It really isn't something to mess with, since it can turn into any shape it wishes, can cause thunderstorms, whirlpools, and will grab unwary travelers from the banks of the water, dragging them down to make a meal of them.
There's a rare pattern in these cryptids in Michigan, it looks like. I haven't run across a whole lot of other cryptid creatures that control the weather like these are claimed to do.
It is said to make its home in Lake Huron. Some have claimed that settlers in the area saw this creature as well, but named it Pressy. The only issue with that is Pressy is said to live in Lake Superior. I guess underwater cave systems could exist so the creature could traverse lakes.
And I don't think the idea of an underwater cave system is very far-fetched, to be honest with you.
Pressy is said to be about 75 feet long, have dark green scales, a horse-like head, and a tail like a whale.
Michael Fontaine in the chat room over here on the DarkWolf's Den Show channel says, Jerry, my friend was just talking about this one. He's seen it back in the 1980s now. That is interesting. Welcome, Sapphire Elf. Glad to see you. That's interesting. He says, I've lived about a mile from Lake Erie, he says. So Michael says he's been involved with some people who have actually seen this thing in the last, couple decades, right? That's pretty cool.
It has been sighted for many years. In fact, more so than most cryptids. This creature isn't friendly either, since many of the encounters involve an attack. In 1897, a man from Detroit and 3 friends were out on his boat fishing when he fell overboard. Originally he thought his boat struck a rock, but as he flailed in the water, he felt a serpent-like body grab a hold of him and start to constrict.
That's another small but interesting detail of the case file, is the constricting of the body of the serpent. So we could suggest that this creature, whatever it is, would be related to the boa constrictor, if not a boa constrictor itself. The problem is the boa constrictor is not native to Michigan.
His friends saw what was happening and managed to fight off the creature and save their friend's life. Sightings continued pretty regularly, but one interesting encounter occurred in the 1990s. 3 fishermen were watching a deer swimming in the water while trying to get to the shore. Before it could do so, the men saw a strange creature grab the deer, and it did so with enough force that the only thing that remained was a severed head.
That is quite a bit of force to literally sever the head of the deer in one whack. So it either just took one great big bite, or it constricted around to the point so quickly, or yanked it so quickly that the head just flew off. Either way, that's a lot of power to do that.
Moving on to something more terrestrial but equally odd, we find something that seems like it belongs in folktales. I'm sure a lot of Detroit natives will be happy that I am talking about the Nain Rouge. This creature is said to appear like what most demons are characteristically depicted as.
Am I the only one that thinks a demon running around Detroit is kind of like par for the course, right?
It is said to be about the size of a small child, has red skin, sharp teeth set in a mouth that is always grinning, its eyes can be fiery red or luminescent like a mirror, and some describe it with horns and even black fur on the body. As I mentioned, it looks exactly like what most people think of when talking about demons. While it can be scary in appearance, there only has been 2 reports of it attacking anyone, and that was in 1884 and then again in 1964. I couldn't find any details behind that other than in the first attack it was described as being a baboon with horns and restless red eyes. Outside of that, this being seems to follow the Mothman pattern, where whenever it shows up, bad things happen.
And these prophetic cryptids are a fairly new version of cryptids, from the Mothman, as he mentioned there, to we've seen a couple different Mothman type creatures in different states. Once again, they just show up right before something very bad is about to happen. They don't necessarily attack anything. They just look very scary. But again, this is a relatively new series of cryptids.
It was said to appear on July 30th, 1763, before the Battle of Bloody Run, where 58 British soldiers were killed by Chief Pontiac. The Nain Rouge then was said to dance among the bodies until the Detroit River turned red from the blood. Then the creature appeared again just days before the Great Fire of 1805, which caused most of Detroit to be caught on fire. The result of the War of 1812 was attributed to this creature's appearance as well, since General William Hull mentioned being attacked by the demon from the fog. Not long after, he surrendered. In 1967, 2 utility workers saw a creature of this description climbing one of the poles just before the start to the 1967 Detroit riots. It then showed up again in 1976 before a massive snowstorm they hit the area.
It really does make me curious why these creatures only show up when something negative is about to happen. A lot of death, a lot of murder, a lot of negative activity. It's almost as if they know what is coming. Very, very interesting creatures these are.
But you may ask, what history does this being have?
No, I'm more curious about whether or not we are going to see it again anytime soon. Looking at the state of affairs of this country right now, these Mothman and type creatures, I almost expect to start being seen on a daily basis. How about you guys?
According to experts, this creature emerged from a mix of French and Native American legends about a type of hobgoblin. The Native American lore sees it as the child of the stone god. The French version is based off the Norman stories of a being known as Luton, which looks like a gnome. Since 2011, a parade called Marche des Nains Rouges is held to symbolize chasing the entity out of town. However, other groups joined, stating the creature isn't to be blamed for any of the bad events.
Most of the events, well, all of the events that were explained do not sound like anything that was caused by the creature, unless it was maybe some kind of mind control. We ain't gonna rule that out, but generally speaking, it only showed up at the time that it was about to happen, so it wasn't responsible for the actions of the humans. It just knew that things were about to get really, really bad, and perhaps it feeds off a spirit energy of some type. I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day, but definitely a fascinating creature. And the next creature up on the list is, well, to me, equally as fascinating, and you'll see why here in a second. Tell us about the next one, Ben.
Giant white wolf that is famous in Native American lore and is said to be the cause of death to some Michigan explorers, and it is known as the Wahila.
Though a dangerous creature this is, when it says a large white wolf, think prehistoric size white wolf.
And looking at this cryptid, which basically is a living direwolf, it shares many stories with the Alaska area, but it is said to make its home in the Nahanni National Park in Canada.
The reason that makes sense to me is it follows the natural pattern, once again, of a wolf, right? A white wolf, anyway. A creature that would be in the northern area, a colder region, like Alaska, for instance, Canada, for instance, Michigan, for instance. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that would be a natural creature, a cryptid by definition, as it seems to follow the known laws of nature, right?
Another cryptid worth mentioning is the Dewey Lake Monster.
You're in luck, Ben, because it looks like we have time for just one more cryptid. And by the way, for those wondering who this is, if you haven't joined us before, this is Ben Miller from the Ben Miller YouTube channel. Definitely please go over and check his channel out and give him a like if you enjoy cryptids. He does a series a lot like ours with the cryptids of the states, and he follows a variety of paranormal stuff, so definitely, please, I suggest go check his work out if you get the chance, guys. Throw him a subscription, throw him a like button, make sure you ring that bell over there, hook him up if you would for me, guys. He does a great job. But Ben, go ahead and tell us about this last cryptid you got for us, my friend.
This is a fascinating one, since it has a lot of credibility to it, but descriptions vary, from it being a Bigfoot to it appearing like a creature from the Black Lagoon.
And as you know, if you have followed the States series, you know that Bigfoot usually makes an appearance in every state. In a northern cold state like Michigan, I would expect to see nothing less than a couple Bigfoot creatures, right?
There are some interesting encounters that I do want to tell you about one day.
Aw, Ben, come on, that's just mean, man. Well, I tell you what, do you have anything funny to take us out to the break with?
That would be a giant green squirrel of Amble in Montcalm County.
Wait. What, Ben? A giant green squirrel? I couldn't even imagine what that would look like. Some kind of mutation, maybe? But seriously, tell us about it, Ben. This sounds fascinating.
In this very small town, a squirrel the size of a cow with green fur and various colored eyes is said to roam about at night.
When you said giant squirrel, you weren't kidding, Ben. The size of a cow with different colored eyes, depending, I guess, who your witness is, and green. Not only is it the size of a cow, it's green. What?
Its chirps and other sounds echo through the valley, just as the moon is only the size of a sliver. Most people are sure this is just an old legend, or from the imagination of people who have had too much to drink, but who knows?
Most people would see pink elephants. They're seeing green cow-sized squirrels. You guys remember when pink elephants was actually something you would say, somebody's hallucinating pink elephants? Well, it turns out now those are a thing. The Mandela effect strikes again, ladies and gentlemen. But as I hear in my headphones, hear that music means it is time we got to go ahead and take a network break. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Show exclusively on Ripin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripin' Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your weekend has begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, State of Mystery for Michigan? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show will return again tomorrow night, Thursday, November 18th, as he continues on his Freedom Flame series, dealing with certain unalienable rights. You won't want to miss a moment. Tomorrow night starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Then I will return Friday night, November 19th. Come along with me on an insightful journey deep down the rabbit hole of strategy. How to use it in business, how to use it in your personal life, how to strategize. That's Friday, November 19th. Then Saturday night, November 20th, come along as we look deeply at the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. That's Sunday, November 20th. It's been a hot topic recently down in Kenosha. We're going to follow up and give you everything you need to know about your right to bear arms. Then we'll end out the weekend right together with you Sunday night, November 21st. We're going to take a look at self-defense. That's right, we're going to explore the importance of it, not just from defending yourself physically, but self-defense on almost every level. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to our website, ripinrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive Backstage VIP Pass. It's absolutely free to do so. It always will be. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to our privatized social media network. Once you get signed up, you can create your own profile. Then you can post publicly on the wall. We're not one of those big tech medias that's going to censor or shadow ban or ghost what it is that you have to say. We also do not share, sell, or give away your personal information, so you can feel real comfortable about that. And I invite you to come on over where the conversation continues after the show at theripinrabbithole.com. It's a lot of fun. Once you get signed up, too, gives you unfiltered access to the Backstage VIP Chat Lounge, our virtual meeting area. We'll return to Wednesday night's DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, The State of Mystery for Michigan, for November 17th, 2021. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, November the 17th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing tonight, of course, the state of mystery of Michigan. We went over a number of strange creatures in the first half, but before we get into the festivities of the second half, I would like to take a minute to personally address something really quickly, and that would be the freedoms that we have. And I know this is a paranormal episode. Stick with me, guys. I promise this will make sense here in just a moment. The truther community, even those, and especially those of us in the paranormal, are under attack. Make no mistake, they are coming for us. Anything they do not consider truth or their narrative, they are trying to erase from reality. It's only a matter of time before they get to us on their list. So I would pull it a call out now to all paranormal and truther researchers and those who speak about this topic to come together. I call out to all my flat earth friends, to all my ufologists, to all my ghost researchers, to everyone who looks into the paranormal. I may not ever agree with everything you say, but I will fight to the end for your right to say it. And our rights to say the things we're saying, to tell these truths, are deeply under attack. So I would ask that and we all come together for a common cause and start fighting the tyranny before it reaches our doorstep, because if everyone else backs down, no one is going to be left to help us to begin with. So in the truth community, and I haven't seen a lot of fighting and arguing in the truth community, make no mistake, but I would call out now to all of us to quit arguing about what's right and what's wrong, what's hoax and what's not. Put all that aside a minute and start standing up for our rights to argue about what we argue about. And that is my little PSA for today, ladies and gentlemen. And now we can argue some more about the paranormal of Michigan, right? And as we know, we've got the cryptids out of the way. We are now going to go into the hauntings in Michigan.
The Michigan State Capitol Building. The Michigan State Capitol Building in Lansing was built in 1847 and has been the site of 4 confirmed deaths. A young man fell to his death while jumping between railings on the grand staircase, where his ghost can occasionally be seen taking that final leap.
As a lot of you guys know, this doesn't really classify for me as a haunting per se. It is a haunting by classic definition, but this seems more like an imprint of reality replaying itself over and over, like the stone tape theory.
An elevator mechanic was electrocuted to death while performing repairs. His full-bodied apparition appears to staff and guests in the elevator in an old-timey uniform.
So this one seems more of the caretaker type ghost, right? Not really scary or spooky, just kind of watching over the events.
A roofer and a painter, both on separate jobs, fell to their deaths from the top of the building. They are most commonly seen on the stairwells and in the elevators, usually on their way to the top.
Note to all of my family in Michigan, stay away from the upper levels of the state capitol building in Lansing. I repeat, stay away. Everybody that goes to these upper levels seems to fall off, mysteriously nonetheless. So anybody, as a matter of fact, I would suggest not be a roaming area on the upper levels of the Michigan State Capitol building.
Although, rather disturbingly, several guests have claimed to see these specters peer in through second and third story windows at night.
Okay, so that's pretty darn creepy. Not only do you have a ghost showing up on the first floor window, that one, you can almost explain away as a reflection. But on the second floor window, that's a little harder to explain away when there's no ground out in front of it like that, right?
The White River Light Station. The White River Light Station in Whitehall was built in 1875 and is said to be haunted by the spirit of Captain William Robinson, the first caretaker to live here.
Well, in the classification systems that we seem to be building across these ghost parts of the episode, I would almost dare to guess that this one is going to fall in the Caretaker Ghost category, right? It's almost in the name. The first caretaker of the lighthouse.
Shortly after his death, visitors to the light began reporting strange and otherworldly experiences, such as objects moving on their own, finding furniture dusted with cleaning supplies out.
Okay, now, I gotta say, I don't mind cleaning up the cleaning supplies if the ghost is gonna go ahead and clean my house. Not even gonna complain about that, right? I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't mind having a ghostly housekeeper that actually keeps the house clean.
And the sound of disembodied footsteps accompanied by the unmistakable clatter of Captain Robinson's wooden cane. Those who have run-ins with this apparition, however, report that they never feel endangered or unwelcomed, and it seems the old captain is very willing to share his beloved light with all who care to visit.
And once again, we have a classic characterization of what I call the caretaker ghost, right? These ghosts that only return to the property for the sole purpose, excuse the pun, but the entire purpose of just watching over the property, whatever it may be, right? Just to caretake it from the other side.
All of it college.
And of course, no state episode would be complete without a haunted college, right?
All of it college, and all of it was founded in 1844 and partially built atop an old cemetery.
Okay, it's really early in this case file, but I already see one red flag building on top of a cemetery.
Though the crew made their best efforts to retrieve all of the bodies, it's widely accepted that many of the bodies were left behind and old bones still support the foundation.
I gotta say, I would be a little mad if I found out from the afterlife that my bones were being used as the foundation of a building too.
Students and faculty alike have reported a wide range of happenings, including unexplainable electronic malfunctions.
And this case file, as we expected, is much more of the poltergeist active haunting type of situation, right?
Windows and doors opening on their own, and ghostly tombstones appearing in the grass around campus.
You know, ghostly tombstones appearing around might not be a bad thing during Halloween. You would just think it is a cool illusionary trick, right? But any other time of year, it would be, I guess I would have to agree, quite spooky.
Many full-bodied apparitions of varying appearances have been sighted throughout the halls as well, drifting through walls, a look of lost confusion on their faces. At night, many have also reported the sounds of piano music from a time long ago.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you do not build on top of a graveyard, let alone disturb the dead. But luckily enough for us, ladies and gentlemen, Michigan has not one but two haunted colleges. That's right.
Siena Heights University. Siena Heights University in Adrian was built in 1919 as St. Joseph's College, with the name being changed 20 years later. Over the years, an abnormally high number of disturbing reports have sprouted up across campus. In the dorms, students report windows and doors opening and closing on their own.
As we know, that type of activity with physical interaction is, like we just discussed in the last case file, an active haunting.
Clothing floating through the air as if someone was wearing it.
Now, that is a new one on me. Clothing floating through the air as if someone were wearing it, like an invisible person. This may very well be a portal zone of some type, right? But seriously, definitely not something that is normally seen in a lot of haunting cases.
And a rocking chair that has started rocking so violently it has smashed a nearby mirror and is even tied to several injuries.
This case file makes me wonder if it isn't the energetic work of a cursed object or a haunted object, something attached to that particular chair is what I'm thinking that is wreaking havoc in the environment because it doesn't like being in said environment because it's different than most likely the one it came from. Once again, a soul attachment to an object, a different type of haunting, one that we do see a lot of different elements within.
The most haunted room here is said to be 211, where many have switched rooms within days after seeing what they describe as glowing red eyes on the wall at night accompanied by malicious shadowy figures.
Amish Dan strikes again. I'm kidding. But seriously, that one gave me chills, right? The shadow people, for some reason, just seem so much creepier than your general haunting. Wouldn't you agree? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think shadow people are just a little scarier than most hauntings we go over here. Put a 2 in the chat room if you say no, it's no scarier than any other haunting. And 3 in the chat room if you're just not sure.
Traverse City State Hospital.
With the amount of emotional energy and trauma in a hospital, I expect nothing less than a load of hauntings, right?
Traverse City State Hospital in Traverse City was built as the Northern Michigan Asylum in 1885, and, like most asylums of its time, operated with experimental and highly controversial procedures, so it's not hard to imagine it harbors more than a few restless souls. Staff, patients, and visitors throughout the years have reported a wide range of otherworldly occurrences, including lights turning on without electricity.
Okay, not to count that we already see this is an active haunting, but this is a strange one. I have to point this out because this is an element opposite that we normally see. We usually see entities draining energy, not using energy to light things that aren't connected to electricity, right? That is quite a reverse than most case files that we see.
Disembodied screams, moans, and whispers in the dark. Multiple full-bodied apparitions have also been sighted here, some being doctors and nurses in old uniforms, seemingly unaware of the living.
This is another element of hauntings that has been bothering me lately. Is the question of these parallel universes, right? Like they're going about their day as if there's nothing going on. I don't know if this is a stone tape or if this is a literally a parallel universe that we're able to see, a spirit world or realm, if you will. But let's see what you guys said about the previous question. Do you think the shadow people are just a little scarier than most ghost stories we have here? The 1 in the chat room if you think yes, they're definitely much more creepy and disturbing and scary. 2 in the chat room if you say no, they're no worse than any other ghost haunting. And 3 in the chat room if you're unsure. Let's see what you guys had to say. Quite a bit being said over here, actually. I'm quite surprised. 1s and 2s looks like we got over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat room. We got 1s from JoJo, definitely much creepier. 2 from My Life DIY, nah, they're no more scary than anything else, says My Life. With that 2, Michael Fontaine says 2, and I quote, shadow people are us in another side of the dimension. I have seen a few things in my house, and I'm an antenna for something, says Michael Fontaine over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat room. Once again, Cynthia Sue Larson says, we have a number, welcome Cynthia, glad to have you here, my friend. We have a number of haunted buildings at the UC Berkeley campus. I was teaching some class I was teaching some classes there, she says, when students requested a haunted building tour. So I took them to some of the haunted buildings. Now that is really cool. And we're finding with this series of the states that pretty much every state has a haunted college, if not a number of haunted colleges. So we find even more evidence for that over here in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole Show chat room. We have JJ with the 1. JJ, good to see you, my friend. Terry Taggart with the 1, definitely a lot scarier. Raider Champion with the 1.1. Sandy B with the 111, definitely scarier with the shadow people than just a normal haunting. Earth Daughter with 1s across the board, absolutely scarier. Natalie Renkla, I apologize for my pronunciation. I just demolished that, but with a 2, definitely not scarier to Natalie, like my life over there with the whatever, it's another haunting. Mandani Mall with the 1 definitely finds them a lot scarier. Also, Earth Daughter says shadow people are super scary when they touch you. I would freak out if a shadow person touched me. How about you guys? And it looks like we have time for just one more case file before we close out tonight.
The Detroit Masonic Temple.
And of course, I could do a whole series just on Detroit hauntings, right? But this is the only one we're going to cover from Detroit tonight.
Built in the 1920s, the Detroit Masonic Temple is the world's largest Masonic temple, rumored to hold over 1,000 rooms, a number of hidden staircases, secret passageways, and hidden compartments. There are several theories as to who or what is haunting the halls of this old building, the most famous theory being that of the building being haunted by founder George Mason. As local legend goes, George went bankrupt and jumped to his death from the top of the temple.
And we're going to be hearing a lot about George Mason as a political guy going forward. He was actually very instrumental in creating this country. Like him, hate him, good, bad, or indifferent. You be the judge on that one. But JJ says the Miss Universe pageant is fixed. All the winners are from Earth. Haha. Great to have you. Dave Dowling says Raul sent me. Well, we appreciate Raul sending you over. Hope you enjoy the show, my friend.
This doesn't make sense, however, as George is recorded having died at age 91 in bed. Visitors report a wide range of happenings, including doors slamming by themselves, unexplainable cold spots, shadow figures moving about, and the strong feeling of being unwelcomed. Objects have been known to fly from shelves, and several have reported injuries linked to what they described as invisible hands shoving or hitting them. If history is accurate and George really did die in bed, this leaves a frightening question to be answered. What is really stalking these old halls?
A Masonic lodge, dark rituals, and no recorded deaths? Yeah, you can kind of give a guess what I think that might be. Demonic comes to mind, right? But I guess in the end, folks, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, November the 17th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry. We have kicked off the weekend fun, and it has only just begun. That's right. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, November the 18th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an all-new episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show Freedom Flame series. We will be discussing certain unalienable rights. What are your unalienable rights? We hear them talked about, but do we know what they are? We're going to go over all that and more tomorrow, Thursday, November 18th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Then on Friday, November November 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit returns to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. On Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he's going to be talking about strategy. That's right. Always an important part of life, whether in a business deal or in the middle of war. Strategy is extremely important, and AJ will be discussing many different kinds of strategies on Friday, November 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. Then on Saturday, November 20th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he returns to the airwaves again for another episode of that Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right, he's going to be talking on Saturday about the right to bear arms. A right we all have in this country, a right that is under threat and attack heavily these days. But you need to know your rights, as we discussed on Thursday. The right to bear arms is an extremely important one. And that's going to be AJ's show on Saturday, November the 20th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, November 21st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network, if you haven't noticed, start at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10/9 Central. And on Sunday, AJ's going to round the weekend out right with an episode about self-defense. Yet another right that we have in this country, the right to defend yourself, your property, and everything that you have, your possessions. That is an important right that we have, and one that once again is under fire in this country. And AJ will be discussing all that and more on Sunday, November the 21st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And that's going to round the weekend out right here at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, make sure you hop on over to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. That is RIPON, RABBITHOLE.com. Over there, you're going to find a plethora of fun. That's right, one of my favorite websites to peruse all the time. The first thing you're going to need to do is sign up for your Backstage Pass. It is absolutely free and always will be. And that's going to get you access to all the features of our website, as well as getting you a weekly email about the DarkWolf's Den shows and Rippin' Rabbit Holes that we have planned all weekend long. That's right. But while you're over on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, make sure you hit the Listen Live button and the on-air schedule to check when we are on air if you don't receive that email. As well as the on-demand, you can go back and find anything we've done since we've been on the air. There's always featured news on the website, from the Rippin' local area to state and even national and international news. So if you're a news junkie, make sure you come on over and check that out. Down the rabbit hole, we have our exclusive social media section. Unlike the big boys, Face Twit and all that, we don't censor and shadow ban and all that craziness. So if you have information you like to share with the rabbits, come on over and drop it down the rabbit hole. That's right. As well as groups over there down the rabbit hole, we have a variety of groups, from the DarkWolf's Den Show to Lucid Dreaming and the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, and a variety of other fun places. And there's the Backstage 24/7 Lounge, of course, my favorite place to hang out, and where I'll be heading shortly right after this show, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, I need to get ready to head on over there now. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. On behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Walt House, Michael Musco, everybody involved in Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios for this amazing music. Get down with it, Tom. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios, links in the description. On behalf of all these folks, as well as our amazing mod team, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Good night, everybody. You know what time it is? You know what time it is? JoJo's knows what time it is. Let's see it. Hands up, ladies and gentlemen. See it in the chat. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. You know, I seen an article today that said that saying "Let's go, Brandon" is the equivalent of burning the flag. These stupid, crazy leftists. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. I see you over there, chat. My Life, JoJo's, JJ, throw them up. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, FJB.
What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays.
That's right. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, FJB.
Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her?
Let's go, Brandon. I'll never stop. FJB to the top. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. You compare it to burning a flag, you're already burning down a right, so what does it matter? Let them have it.
Is this real or just illusion?
Let's go, Brandon.
Manifestation or a dark delusion?
FJB.
Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Lost in a wonderland of confusion, like our great resident and thief. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go, Brandon, FJB. The resident and thief. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. The guy's the equivalent of a mental patient to me. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. I see you, Arrow Taylor, throwing it up. That's what I'm talking about. My Life, JoJo, Sandy B. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. And we'll see you all tomorrow as we talk about our unalienable rights. Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Good night, everybody.